Okay, ladies and gentlemen, quite a few things to discuss today on Bitcoin, short-term, medium-term, macro, just looking into a broad analysis of the market itself, an update of the situation for Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that kind of stuff. Before we get into any of that though, we've got a campaign here on Bitget, the Bitget exchange. My referral link is down in the description below, but we've got a campaign here for free money. You can literally get 120 USD for 5 minutes of work. Only limited time, the next 48 hours basically, and $3,000 available. So limited people, limited time, 120 USD for 5-10 minutes of work here. Just depositing, making your first trade, and making an account with my referral link will get you those rewards. So check out the banner on the screen, and if you're interested in that, you can do that. Let's get into the content here. Starting out with a fresh Bitcoin chart, and we're going to fill in the blanks here to get a full understanding of what's actually going on for Bitcoin. So this is the fresh chart. I'm a daily chart right here. We're going to look at in a second. Let's go to the weekly chart, okay? So, weekly chart level in yellow at 69k. That's a very important level because that is where we saw the all-time high in 2021, and it's also a level that's acted as very important weekly candle resistance. You can see it acted as a weekly candle resistance over here and a weekly candle support over here as well. If we go ahead and take that level at 69k, that yellow line, and apply it to our blank chart, we'll do that in just a moment here, what we can see is that 69k ends up being a very important level in the middle of this range here. So 69k, that's the weekly chart level. We'll mark it in yellow. Also a very important level stemming from the weekly chart, stemming from the volume profile actually, on the right hand side of the screen here is our next major macro support block on the volume profile at around 57 to 57.5k. Let's go ahead and plot that level into our short-term chart here as well. 57.5, 57, somewhere around there. We'll just make it 57. You can see we'll make that a red line. Then we have our monthly chart. Okay, we have a pink line right here at 61.3k. That was the highest ever monthly candle close we saw in 2021. A monthly candle support and resistance zone over here. And as you can see, if we plot that level at 61.3k in pink into the short-term chart, so this is the monthly candle level here in the short-term chart in pink, we can see that's a very, very important short-term resistance. Let's actually zoom into this chart to the 12-hour chart. We'll get a bit of a better look about what's going on here. You can see very clearly now the weekly chart level in yellow is a very important support and resistance zone, a very important kind of dividing level within this range. You can see the monthly candle level at 61.3k is kind of holding Bitcoin up. It's like the lifeline for Bitcoin. And you can see our lower support zone here at 57k hasn't been tested yet, but if we drop this pink level, that's where we'll be going on Bitcoin. Then we can also go ahead and draw a red line at the all-time high on Bitcoin around 73.7k. And this makes a pretty good example, a pretty good demonstration of where Bitcoin is moving between right now. There's 4 major levels in the Bitcoin chart right now. Ever since February, late February, those levels are 57k, which we haven't tested yet, 61.3k, which is kind of our neckline for this entire range, 69k, which is the center of the entire range, and 73k, which is the all-time high. Those are the important levels you need to be watching. And of course, when it comes to levels like this, you can do a general range-based analysis, and you can say that, well, if Bitcoin breaks above 69k, we'll have an open range, an open attack to the all-time high, and if Bitcoin drops below this pink level at 61.3k, we'll have an open attack to around 57k. Until we do either of those things, until we either break this yellow line or break this pink line, Bitcoin is ranging sideways. It's in a bit of a neutral position. In fact, you could say it's leaning slightly bearish to an extent because overall, we're still actually in not a very favorable short-term trend. We've kind of created this short-term trend where we're just descending downwards here, just constantly bouncing off the support level, but it's just getting weaker and weaker every time we test it. You can see that the length of the retest has increased quite significantly. Over here, it was a very efficient, very sharp bounce. Over here, it was a resistance support flip, which is the sharpest bounce you're going to get. And over here, it's just taking its time. It's just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So we don't really want to go down and test that level again. There's no need to do that. I would say that if Bitcoin went downwards and test that level again, it would certainly break this time. We'd go downwards further. But right now, no, the truth is Bitcoin is in kind of a mid position, kind of a not really anything really too important happening. We're just kind of ranging. We're just kind of lurking here, waiting for something to happen. And yeah, I think that this horizontal range-based analysis is a good way to look at the Bitcoin chart right now. Again, I'll say what I said again. If we drop below 61.3k, where are we going? We're going to 57. And we're not just looking at the short-term charts to determine that. We can look at the weekly chart as well. We can bring up the weekly chart RSI. We can see that Bitcoin is kind of drifting here in the weekly chart RSI. It's broken down from an ascending wedge formation. It's hovering in between that ascending wedge and a major support line. If we were to drop below 61.3K, this breakdown would continue until we touch that major support line. And that major support line will probably line up with our next major support zone, which would be, again, 57K. We can also look at, this very, very important ascending support line that stems from 2011. It's a 13-year-old support line here. It cuts through the entirety of Bitcoin's price action. It's very accurate. It's actually a very important line here. And what you can see is that if we were to go downwards and test that line right now, we would go down to around 57K. So there's a lot of things right now. 57K, in my opinion, I've made the analogy before. I think it's a bit of a magnet for Bitcoin right now, and Bitcoin is fighting the tide. It's trying its best to get away from it. But again, all we need to be seeing for Bitcoin is a breakdown from that 61.3K level, and we're going straight to 57. Until that happens, though, again, Bitcoin's in this kind of middle position. It's not really doing much. We can't really say much about it. If anything, I just said before, this support level is getting weaker. But if anything, the fact that we've even held onto this support level post-halving is really good news here. We can also look at Ethereum, and we can see on the Ethereum daily chart. And this is what I like to do when I'm not perfectly sure about what's going on with Bitcoin. And look, let me just say, there's a reason why I don't have strong positions on Bitcoin right now in terms of my opinions on Bitcoin. If we bring up the volume profile here, what we can see is that the volume profile is very clearly showing us that we're on the lower half of this range, testing a major resistance zone. So I think right now, at this point, it's very irrational to sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm short-term bullish on Bitcoin, when we're literally below the POC of this entire range and 69K. If we break 69K, yeah, cool, I'll flip short-term bullish. But until then, Bitcoin is very much at resistance. It's showing some strength, but it's not out of the woods by any means. I'm just maintaining my opinion from the last video here. That's basically what this video is. I'm just repeating myself. Bitcoin is pretty much not out of the woods until we break 69K. Until that occurs, there's no reason to be confident about Bitcoin's short-term structure. The macro structure, though, is still very much intact. The macro structure is not a problem at all. We look at the macro structure. First thing we look at is this very important ascending support line, again, stemming back from 13 years ago. We're still above that line. We have not broken that line yet. There's no problems in the macro. We look at, for example, the monthly chart. We look at the monthly chart RSI. You see this yellow line here on the monthly chart RSI. That's the 14 moving average. And you can see that every single time we've broken that moving average to the downside, it's led to a bear market on Bitcoin. Okay, so we broke it to the downside here, led to a bear market. Broke it to the downside here, led to a bear market. Broke it to the downside here. It didn't lead quite to a bear market, but it led to a 50% drop. And then we came back up and resistance support flipped off of it in 2021 November. And then it led to a bear market. And you see that every time we get above it, you enter a bull market, right? So we got above it over here in October 15. We entered a bull market. Bull market here. COVID distorted that situation a little bit, but ultimately it led to a bull market. Same thing over here last year, entered a bull market. The fact of the matter is, yeah, we have entered a downwards trajectory on the RSI. We are descending towards that yellow level, but we're nowhere near breaking it down. We're nowhere near crossing below it. And so we're nowhere near a confirmed bear market at all. The macro structure is very much intact. If you just zoom out to the weekly chart and you just take a non-biased look at Bitcoin right now, what you see is that this asset is in a vicious uptrend with very small signs of weakness up here, but really nothing to be jitterish about. It's a healthy correction at this point. Look, if we start, as I said, if we start dropping below things like 57, which I think is a very important support zone, or something like 53 mainly, yeah, okay, cool. Then we can start considering the bear cases. But right now, there's just really nothing to be concerned about from a macro perspective. It's just the short-term charts that we're looking at. And again, short-term charts that we've seen some positive bounces from support at 61.3K, but we're by no means out of the woods until we get above 69. Ethereum is showing a little bit of promise here. We have kind of this descending channel formation on Ethereum, bounce from the bull market support band. Could be a supporting argument for Bitcoin moving upwards from here. But again, we have to wait and see. There's no confirmation of it. It's just a chart. It's just a theory. It's just speculation. But yeah, I would say, as I said before, that I have no real strong opinions on Bitcoin short term right now. I think we're still not out of the woods yet. I think we're still not out of threat yet. But look, there are good signs developing, promising signs developing. Certainly doesn't look as bad as it did last week. And I think that if we are going to move upwards, the time is now. Because as I said, if we go back down to the support zone once again, we will break it this time. I'm very, very confident in that. So I think that if Bitcoin's going to break upwards, it's going to be happening within the next day or two. And we have to get above 69K in that breakout. Otherwise, we are doomed for a further correction. So again, apologies for no strong opinions. There's just not really much to be had. I'm a observant breakout trader. I try my best to avoid predictions where possible, and I do that for a reason. I think the predictions make no money. What makes money is reactions, and you can understand how to react very efficiently without predicting, right? So I can say to you right now that if 69K breaks, we will go to all-time highs. That is a prediction in itself. It's just not a prediction from the current price level. It's a future prediction, and so I'll react when we get there. So yeah, guys, I wish I could give you more depth, but there's not really much depth to give. We're just kind of lurking in the middle of this range here. Tomorrow, if nothing's happened on Bitcoin, I'll make an altcoin season video, or I'll just make an altcoin video in general. I'm keen to start discussing altcoins a little bit more as we head further into this bull market. Again, I'm very much macro bullish. So again, guys, go ahead and check out the Bitget promotion I mentioned at the start of the video. You can also check out the BingX exchange because Bitget is only available to users outside of the USA. If you want a global non-KYC exchange, you can check out BingX. My referral link for BingX is down below for 15% trading fee discounts and an exclusive rewards center. Go ahead and check that out if you're interested in getting on a good exchange. You can also check out the Crypto Academy if you want to learn how to trade. It's an educational course. We've got a bull market sale on right now. So take advantage of that if you're interested. And then finally, you can check out the VIP group on Telegram. If you want to trade altcoins with me on VIP, we trade altcoins 4 to 5 times a week. We've got a 77.51% win rate over the course of 18 months. If you want part in that, if you want money on altcoins, you want to make some money on altcoins, you want to do it with me on VIP and with other members, I've got 130 members in there, you can do so. All the links are down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you tomorrow.